Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Dr. Robinson again, and we're continuing our series, getting ready for grade 8 mathematics, show number 2. We are talking about our topic for today. We're continuing from last time with the Pythagorean Theorem, part 2. So we're going to review a little bit and then get into the lesson for today. So let's go. All right, as you remember, I started off talking about what's the square root of 64, and you remember the answer was 8, right? So let's keep going. Then I asked for a different answer. What was a different answer than 8? And a lot of you remember there is a negative answer, negative 8. And the reason behind that is because any number squared is always positive. Squared means to the exponent of 2, except for 0. If you square that, that'll give you 0. But 8 to the second power, 8 squared is 8 times 8 equals 64. And negative 8 to the second power, 8 squared is negative 8 times negative 8. And that is also equal to positive 64. So we did some questions like this where we had to find the value. We were given a is equal to 6, and we had to find out what is a squared equal to, so that we would replace a with 6, and we would multiply it out, expand it out, 6 times 6, and that gave us 36. And the reason why we wrote 6 two times is because the exponent of 2 tells us to write it twice. We had another question. We had b is equal to 8 this time, and we had b squared, so we replaced b with equal to 8, and we would square that out or expand it out. 8 times 8 is equal to 64. So that's what we did last time, and we jazzed it up a little bit more. This time we had to find the value of this equation here. We had a squared plus b squared. So it was a little bit different because we knew a was equal to 6 and b was equal to 8. We would replace a with 6 and square that, but then we would add it to 8 squared and get an answer. So that was a little bit different. So we remember 6 squared was 36 and 8 squared was 64. But now the difference is we had to add them together, those sums. So 36 plus 64 is equal to 100. So our answer is the question mark would be equal to 100. And then I asked that magical question, what's the square root of 100? And a lot of people said 10, not 50, because 50 times 50 is 2,500. So 10 times 10 is 100. All right, so then I got a little bit more fancy. This time I had a again equal to 6, b is equal to 8. We want to find the value this time of c. I replaced the question mark with a c. And this time I also added a square root symbol around the a squared plus b squared. So first thing we have to do is work inside here. We replace a with equal to 6 and square that. Add that to b, which is equal to 8, and square that. And then take the square root of that sum, and that would equal to the value of 6. So let's see what we did. We squared 6, that gave us 36, squared 8, that gave us 64, and we added that together, that gave us 100. So now we have to do the square root symbol this time. So the square root of 100 was 10. So our answer for C would equal to 10. So that one was a little bit tricky, that we had to do the square root of the answer this time. So once we added our products, we ended up getting a square root of that. So that one was a little bit tricky. So I asked you to try it again on your own. So if we have a is equal to 5, b is equal to 12, find the value of c again. So you'll put in place of a 5, square it, plus b, which is 12, square that, then take the square root of that, and that'll give you c. So 5 times 5 is 25, 12 times 12 is 144, and then we have to add 25 plus 144, and that gave us 169. And then we have to take the square root of 169. Well, I know it's got to be more than 12 because 12 times 12 is 144, so it's a little bit close to that. So let me try 13. 13 times 13 is 169. So my value of c is equal to 100 is equal to 13. So c is equal to 13. So the square root of 169 is 13. So you were dealing with what's called the Pythagorean Theorem all that time, doing those tough questions, those last two tough questions, where the formula is c is equal to the square root of a squared plus b squared. So Sometimes they also say c squared equals a squared plus b squared, or a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You're allowed to put the equal sign in the front or the end of the equation. And to go over the letters, A stands for altitude. That's the height, how going from the top to the bottom of the triangle. And B is the bottom or the base of the right triangle. And C is the slanted side that's opposite the right angle. And that's called the hypotenuse. That's the longest side of a right triangle, by the way. So I have a movie that you could see in your spare time about the Pythagorean Theorem. So we have the Pythagorean formula. You could use either one to find C. So let's take a look and see if we can find it. A is equal to 6, B is equal to 8, so C, we're looking for the hypotenuse. So notice when we're looking for the hypotenuse, this is the formula that we use to find the value of C. Not C squared, but C we're looking for. So I'm going to say, well, A is equal to 6. 6 times 6 is 36. And B, 8 times 8 is 64. So I really have 36 plus 64 again. And that equals 100. So we've done this before. So now all I need to do is find the square root of 100, and that'll equal to my answer of 10. So C is equal to 10. C equals 10. And there we go. So we're using that formula over and over again, and I even want to show you something here, that if we take this formula, let me duplicate it, and clone it in. This is a way of checking yourself. Since we said C is equal to 10, I'm going to change those letters. A was equal to 6, and B was equal to 8, and just show you how you can use this formula. So C is equal to 100. 10 times 10 is 100, and that's equal to 6 times 6, which is 36, plus 8 times 8, which is 64. So I can use that formula also if I wanted to play around with it and guess which number times itself is equal to a squared plus b squared. And that's definitely going to be 100, equal to 100. So my value of C is got to be 10. So I know this checks out for me. So that's another way if you like to use that formula, or use the algebra of solving equations, and we'll talk about solving equations a little later. So I hope you're understanding what's going on so far. So if you have questions, write them down. I'll be glad to write you back and write a movie for you. So let me know. All right, let's get into the lesson finally. So the lesson for today, we're continuing with the Pythagorean Theorem. So this time I want to introduce another formula, which is finding the leg instead of the hypotenuse. So it's a little bit different in the formula, because you're looking for a leg, like the C side is the hypotenuse, but we're looking for A or B. Like down here, we have A is equal to 8, but B we don't know, but C we finally know. Usually we always find C, but now they're getting a little tricky, so we have to jazz up our formula to figure out what is the leg equal to. So let's take a look at the formulas. Leg is equal to the square root of the hypotenuse squared minus the leg squared. Or if you're looking for leg B, that's equal to the square root of the C squared minus A squared. Or if you're looking for leg A, that's equal to the square root of C squared minus B squared. So what are we looking for? We're looking for a leg, and it doesn't matter if you use A or B as the leg, because the legs are arbitrarily equal to each other. They're both legs, so A and B can be switched for each other. But this is basically the formula. You're going to subtract square the hypotenuse, subtract the leg that you got, and take the square root of that, and you'll be done. So let's take a look at this. So we have our hypotenuse, which is 10. We're going to square that, and the leg, which is 8, we're going to square that. So when we do that, we're going to have, this time I use c squared minus a squared because I'm looking for b. 10 squared minus 8 squared equals 100 minus 64. Now remember where I got the 100, because that's 10 squared, because c is the 10, and I'm subtracting from it the a leg, which is 8 squared, which is 64, and I've got to subtract that. 100 minus 64, I get my calculator, I believe that's equal to 36. And I got to take the square root of 36, and I get my answer of b is equal to 6 or negative 6. Now the question would be, Dr. Rob, you haven't said anything about negatives. Well, usually when we're talking Pythagorean Theorem, it's very rare that they'll talk about negative numbers in algebra, but when they're talking about distance is always a positive number, so usually we're looking for the positive answer. So this is a little note about advanced algebra. So b, this side, will equal to 6, and that's what we'll use. So we'll select the positive answer because distance is always positive. So that's new, and this is where we're picking up on today. So we're going to work on our formula. So we have our 3 formulas here, and you can use any one of them that you like in order to find the missing leg. So we're finding the leg. So remember, all you do is take the hypotenuse, square it, and then subtract the other leg from it after you square that, and then take the square root. So I'm going to take c, which is 5, and I'm going to square it. And then I'm going to subtract 3, and I'm going to square that. And that's 5 squared is 25. And I'm going to subtract 3 squared, which is 9, and that's equal to 16. And so I'm almost done. Now all I got to do is take the square root of 16, and that'll give me my answer. And the square root of 16 is 4, or negative 4, and usually we take the side of the positive answer instead of the negative answer. So our side b would equal to 4. So if you said b is equal to 4, you are correct. So that's the new stuff we'll be dealing with the Pythagorean Theorem. So it's a lot alike, but the only difference is when you're looking for a leg, you have to subtract from the hypotenuse. And a quick way to know about the hypotenuse, a quick note about the hypotenuse, it's always the largest number. So you subtract the largest number squared from the other number squared, and then take the square root, and you're done. So here's one for you. See if you can do it. We're looking for the a leg. We have b is equal to 12, and c is equal to 13. So I'll leave that one for you to do, and hopefully you'll get the answer to it. There are formulas up there, so don't forget, just take the hypotenuse squared, square the leg, subtract those two, and take the square root, and you're done. So I hope you understand what's going on. If you're not sure, write me an email, and I'll be glad to answer you back, even create a video for your understanding. There's a good look at your exit ticket. So I hope you'll be able to do it. I got this from a state test from some time ago, so if you can do it, you're doing very well. And it says not drawing the scale. I see we have 8 on this side, there's 17, and we got an 8 there on the bottom. So what's the length of side X? So hopefully you can do it. If you can, you're in good shape. Not drawing the scale, by the way, means don't try to measure it with your ruler or any device you may have to think that you can actually just measure out the side. So it's not drawn perfectly for you. So don't let that happen. Here's some homework that'll be due on Monday, and you have to do number 1 to 7. I only see 1 to 4, so that means there must be some more on the bottom down there. So let's take a look at one of those from the bottom. I put a few word problems in there for you to do. So find the unknown length to the nearest tenth using the Pythagorean theorem. So what's the distance across the lake? I see the lake is down here. There's a question mark, and I have a right triangle. How do I know it's a right triangle? It's a box there and a little right angle. So that means this side over here is my C side, and this side over here would be my A side or a leg. So all I got to do is square the hypotenuse, the biggest number. So I square that, and then I'm going to subtract the other leg from it. Square that. So let's get my calculator to help me out. So I got 120 squared. X squared, what is that equal to? And 75 squared. Let me bring that down there. Let me bring that down and put that in there. Okay. Now let me go back to my calculator. Let me subtract those two numbers. 14,400 minus 5625. And I'm glad I have a calculator. And now I got to take the square. So that's 87. So 87, 5, 5. So, let me write that out, what I did. I took 14,400, added that to 5625. So I got to add that up. And that gave me 87. It gave me 87.75. Okay, boy. A lot of work. Glad I have a calculator. Now, one more step. Oh, and I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I did not. Yeah, I'm not supposed to add. I'm supposed to subtract that. So I subtracted that, not added that. So now I have to take the square root of 8. Wait a minute. I take the square root. The square root. There it is. Square root of 87.75. And there, whoa, is my answer for that. Now, it said rounded off to the nearest tenth. So I got 93.67. Now, I only want one number after the decimal point. So I look at the number that's after the 6, which is a 7. If that's 5 or above, I'm going to shove up the 6 by 1. So I'm going to shove up the 6 by 1. So equals 93.7. And what is that? Miles. So my answer is 93.7 miles. So that's going to be my answer for that one. And I'll put my answer, call my answer, and put it in the box. And there's my answer. So that's a good example of using your Pythagorean theorem to find the distance across a lake. So this is a good application because it's not always just about triangles, but it's about distances. So you can use your Pythagorean theorem to help you find those distances. That's why we chose positive, by the way, because there's no such thing as negative 93 miles, 0.7 miles. So this was number 5 done for you. So you have a few more like this. So hopefully you'll do well on it. If you have questions, write them down. So that concludes our lesson on Pythagorean Theorem Part 2. So please write down questions if you have. If not, there's Dollar Teacher Homework Helpline. If you're having troubles, 212-777-3380, Monday to Thursday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Give them a call. You have good teachers there. You can check out my other study videos on YouTube. My channel name is Dan Robinson. Subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up. Write us a comment. I do write back. Let us know how we're doing. Check out our latest math release, PKMS Math Prep 20. Good video. Math Time is our show. It comes on Tuesdays from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Optimum Cablevision and Peekskill Channel 15. If you want more study videos, study worksheets on this topic, please write me a note, and I'll be glad to give you some things to do about this. Write me at my email address, drobinson@peekskillschools.org. So that concludes our show. I hope you enjoyed getting ready for grade 8 mathematics. So I believe this is not show number 1. I believe this is show number 2. So thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of it. And this was not the orientation. This was Pythagorean Theorem Part 2. So this is Part 2. So thank you so much for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.